Hello everyone, this is Chris, and Bedrock Edition and Java Edition always try to strive towards parity in both editions. And in the most recent beta and snapshot, we've seen arguably the biggest parity change I think I've ever seen happen to the game. And a change like this will almost certainly change the way we look at seeds and other types of things like that. But I guess to start off, we should start off on my home turf on Bedrock Edition in the betas to show off the hello seed. Yes, hello all lowercase right here, and this is the spawn on Bedrock Edition. Keep an eye on everything. Keep an eye on the terrain, the landscape, and all the biomes and stuff around it, because we will be checking this out in Java Edition soon enough. But yeah, if we look around here, we can see a spruce taiga forest right here, surrounding it by a frozen taiga forest. I can never remember the names of these things, but yeah, then around here we get this sort of hilly style of taiga right here, which goes all the way over here into this what looks like a pretty decent looking lake or river type thing, or aquifer as you might want to call it. And just over here we get ourselves a village right on top of this mega hill, snowy hill right here, with a blacksmith too, which is a kind of interesting and noteworthy. And just over here we get what looks to be an ice spikes biome, which just so happens to be a mountain ice spikes biome, which makes for some very interesting style terrain, and nothing we have properly ever seen. Well, we've never seen terrain like this ever inside of official Minecraft, but yeah, seeing something like this, a pretty interesting style of terrain. But yeah, let's pop over to Java Edition and check out the exact same seed. And so here we are in Java Edition in the exact same seed, in the hello seed, lowercase, and if we look around the spawn here, we can see it looks pretty different. Not what you would normally expect. But if we were to go to maybe the same coordinates in the same areas we were in the bedrock seed, we might see some pretty familiar landscapes. Because heading back over to the same coordinates we saw in Bedrock Edition, over to where the Ice Spike Hill was, we could see, wait a minute, there's an Ice Spikes Hill over here too. That's a pretty odd and strange coincidence how something like this managed to spawn in here and spawn in really similar to the one we saw in Bedrock Edition, and it almost looks identical, if you want to call it that. Okay, maybe that village we saw over there on this hill wouldn't be here. Like, there's no way it would actually. Oh, wait a minute! It is actually legitimately here. It looks to be a little bit different, but it still seems to be here in roughly the exact same spot we saw in Bedrock Edition. And from the looks of things, the spawn we saw in Bedrock is pretty much the same. This isn't the spawn for Java Edition, but it does look to be pretty much terrain-wise exactly the same as what we saw in Bedrock Edition. Can you see a theme I'm trying to go with? Yeah, basically the big parity change is that seeds, for the most part, are exactly the same between Java Edition and Bedrock Edition. I say almost the same because I have noticed a few different differences between Bedrock and Java Edition, and we will get to those soon enough. But let's check out a few other seeds, much like this one right here, which is my name. This is Chris999. You see in the world name seed right there, that is the seed right there, and we spawn in Bedrock Edition in the middle and the bottom of the ocean. Not the most ideal spawn I've ever seen in the world, but okay. But the surrounding area seems to be pretty nice and pretty mega hilly terrains right here. We get some hilly plains over there. We get what looks to be a cave entrance right here with just an oak log just sitting itself right over it, which is kind of humorous almost. And heading down the coastline, we can see this very steep drop right here with what looks to be an entrance to a big aquifer cave right here with some pretty big pillars and waterfalls and other types of things like that around here, which makes a pretty unique and not ominous area. Pretty just, I guess, beautiful looking area. Like, if you were to make a natural looking base or something like that, then this might be the place to do it. But the big thing that really sells this one seed to me personally is the massive mega mountain we have literally about 200 or so blocks from spawn on Bedrock Edition. Yeah, it goes way up, far above the Y192 clouds now. Yeah, this goes really, really high, especially for like a mountain that, that could spawn all the way up here and spawn all the way up here. It did. It spawned literally as high as it could possibly spawn, all the way up at Y 256. And it looks almost like a dome shaped pattern right here with a little flat area around the outside and then the indent in the center, kind of like that, with the pretty flatness up here of it. And then surrounding it, we have a few other types of mountains, such as this packed ice mountain. I can never remember the names of these mountains, but we have other types of mountains like that surrounding it just over here, and I believe just past this we have a few other types of hilly terrain. Nope, I have been wrong. I am mistaken, but we do have plenty of different types of, I guess, steepness and slopes going all the way down here at a pretty frosty style terrain generation around here. But the big question is, will that carry over to Java Edition? When we type in the exact same "this is Curse 999 seed," we spawn in right here, which is I guess slightly more ideal than being in the middle of the ocean. And speaking of which, there's an ocean just seeing itself literally right over here, right next to some pretty familiar style land and terrain style things. We don't get that hanging oak log over there, sadly, anymore, but we do get what looks to be everything being exactly the same as how we've seen it on Bedrock Edition. Okay, but this is an interesting thing. We still get the steep slope of right here of the plains just dropping all the way off into the ocean, but instead of the normal just, I guess, opening of this big cavern, we get this sort of pillar setting itself right here instead. Do we still get the opening? We still kind of do. We still kind of get roughly the exact same thing, but just that one singular pillar just makes it kind of almost completely different than what we've seen it in Bedrock Edition. But I think at least right here it looks as though we do get the absolutely mega mountain over here, but the big question is, will it... Oh, actually, I was gonna say, will it look exactly the same, but it's actually looking kind of different. You remember seeing the sort of oval donut shape we saw at the top, but here we get sort of more spike-like things, more pink style things around here. Do we still go up to roughly as high as it can go? Yeah, we still go to pretty much as high as these mountains can generate. It's just that we get pretty much an entirely different style of mountain all the way up here. It looks as though that ice pack peak over here surrounding this mega peak over here seems to be, at least roughly generally speaking, the exact same, but just that one singular peak area looks pretty much entirely different from Bedrock and Java. But it does look like we still get the pretty steep slope heading its way all the way down here, but is it just me, or does it feel like there's less trees here? It just feels like there's significantly less trees when heading down this one singular area. And I could probably show off a million other types of seeds like this, but I think you get the general pitch of what I'm saying. Seeds, for the most part, look almost exactly the same from Bedrock and Java inside the snapshots and betas. But obviously not everything is exactly the same, as I shall point out. And one of the big things is, I guess, the foliage of the surrounding land. Yeah, things like trees, like grass, like flowers, and like other types of things like that, they spawn pretty much completely different from one version to another, and structures, for the most part at least, seem as though they spawn in pretty much exactly the same. The one exception I've seen, at least right now, there could be other ones, but at least right now, is the rune portal right here. So yeah, rune portals are pretty much completely different from one version to another, but again, that's sort of a kind of expected from one to another. But one I'm really not sure about, well, kind of sure about, but not so sure about, is the caveage. Like, some caves look to be pretty similar between both versions, while in other scenarios they seem to be pretty much completely different, like the one we saw back at the spawn of this seed. And speaking of spawns, obviously spawns are completely and totally different. But I think, like, you know, if the seeds are going to look completely the same, they should really try mirroring at least roughly the spawn area of it. It's just to cause as little confusion to it as possible. I mean, if seeds are going to look this similar going forward in 1.18, we should probably try and get other types of things like that looking fairly similar. And speaking of things that need to look pretty similar, I think certain biomes that look completely different, such as the mountain we checked out, need some tweaking. Whether it be the Java mountains look a little more like Bedrock, or Bedrock looking a little more like Java, they need to at least mirror themselves a little bit more than what we have seen right here, especially with these peaky parts right here. But if I'm honest, I'd imagine most of these issues I have, or most of the dissimilarities I have with these seeds, will be changed and fixed throughout the next few betas and snapshots and things. So, but in general, I think this is a really, really good sign to see how much both developers, both developing teams really care about the game and really care about how similar both games need to be. And yeah, I'm really, really looking forward to see what else they have in store, because if they could do something as insanely similar as this, then what else can they do? What other types of parity-related things can both editions do to make them that much closer and that much more similar? I don't know, but we shall only have to wait and see as more betas and snapshots come out. But yeah, for now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all later.